Hey, what's up everybody? It's Vids, and we're back for some more Hades 2, and last time we had our first successful run going through the underworld as of the new true ending, or at least the progress toward that true ending. So for this run, the bonus bones weapon would be the black coat, so we could very well find ourselves taking that, and we've made a lot of progress going up now. Probably still, I think, a couple of runs before we get the true ending, at least surface runs, that is. And then Underworld, we have a lot more runs that we need there. And I was thinking maybe we try to more or less do all the surface runs and then do all the Underworld runs, because the Underworld, that's where we're going to see most of the new stuff happen. It'd be kind of nice, for continuity's sake, to be doing those runs one right after the other so we can clearly see what is new to that ending. But if we are to use the black coat, then that would have us go up on 16 fear. Now, I do think that number is a little bit misleading, because that might make you think that we have completed a 16 or at least a 14 fear run before. I don't believe that is the case either on the surface or in the underworld. It is just that we've basically gotten the nightmare boss down and then likely lost to the final boss. It probably was a run in which we had the rival Kronos or Typhon. So we definitely have not gotten to 16 on the surface. It would be way beyond, in fact, what we would need for the next threshold for Knight's Champion. So you could make the case, oh, we only need 12. You can make the case, forget about 12, just jump straight up to 16. Either way, that would be a pretty big challenge. Let's just throw this on real quick, just to make it clear. Yes, that is Typhon we would have to defeat, and if we are talking about 16 fear, speaking of the rival fights, we have recently been experimenting a lot with not using rivals or going much less on the rival side, because those tend to be quite dangerous, and it turns out that even if you level up some of the other fear factors quite a bit, they oftentimes may not be as bad as using certainly at least some of the later rival fights. So I did experiment a bit with some new sorts of fear factors here. The biggest thing on this occasion being activating all of the void vows, and that means we would have no grasp for any Arcana. So if we are to do this, and I'm still not necessarily convinced this is the way to go, but it would basically mean, obviously, we have no Arcana cards active, and that functionally means that we would be turning it into a Judgment run, because we would not have any cards at all, and that's basically when this does its thing. So we do now have enough crafting resources to max out Judgment. That's one of the reasons why I'm a little more open to trying this now. So, I mean, we've been saving up for this for a while. Let's, at the very least, do that, because that was the really expensive one that was taking a long time to get. That means we get 5 inactive Arcana cards activated whenever we defeat a boss. So basically, we start off extremely weak in that case, but then with each boss we take down, we get progressively stronger. By the end of the run, we have potentially more Arcana cards than we would have had if we had just done a standard Arcana setup. So very front-loaded on the risk in that way. And then that also begs some questions about, okay, what do you do with the keepsake? And given how 0 Arcana is not the only thing we'd be activating here, we also have the Vow of Denial, which I am not sure that we've done before. We've done Hubris, but I basically turned that off and turned this on. This one means if you don't take a particular boon, or the ones that you don't choose are just gonna get deleted for the rest of the run. So not entirely sure how that works in terms of like, what happens if a specific god or goddess has little to no boons remaining. Can they still show up, or do they just not even become an option as a room reward anymore? I don't know, because that might have to be a factor we have in the back of our mind. We did try forfeit, at least in the previous run, if not the run before that as well, and it definitely has its quirks. It can make things a lot more challenging. You basically can't control who you are going to get showing up with the boon-giving god or goddess keepsakes, but if we accept that, then we get 3 fear out of this, and it also obviously means 1 fewer boon per floor. That's one factor. Then we have these two, which seem to have become the go-tos for just the closest thing to gimmies, some free points of fear. And then if we are to jump jump all the way up to 16 rather than just settling for 12 and getting both the Knight's Champion threshold for the surface and also the Nightmare as well, then that would mean we'd have to throw on 1 more point, and you could make a case for any of a number of things there. I was thinking maybe 20% more enemies. It could be more life for all the enemies, but bosses is where I think that'd be the most impactful. Wards, we've done this long ago as well, so I would probably go for one of those guys. You could consider debt and just be less aggressive with spending money. I feel like that's a lot better in the underworld than it is on the surface, because with the surface you have those mini shops, and especially if you ever find yourself in need of expediting those deliveries, then that gets quite expensive. So if you are increasing the price of that as well, then that comes to be a prohibitive cost, I would think. So I'm thinking it's something like this. Admittedly, I don't know exactly how Vow of Void works. I mean, if you have it not fully upgraded, then it takes away a percentage of your grasp, and so you theoretically can still use some of your Arcana. But when you go to the Arcana card selection screen, it's not like it looks at how much Vow of Void you have activated and limits you to that amount of grasp. So, I mean, since we're basically preventing ourselves from using any Arcana at all, it kind of doesn't matter, but
all should be properly afraid.
But the other thing is that obviously if we were willing to throw on the first of the rival fights against Polyphemus, then that would give us 2 extra points we could shave off elsewhere, and we could have at least some Arcana to work with, and that would be nice. But as I've said many times before, Polyphemus, though he is the first of the rival fights, is not necessarily the safest. It does seem like we've gotten better at that fight, and maybe it became easier as of the full release, but still a little reluctant to give ourselves that when we are going to have 0 Arcana cards active for that fight. Well, I mean, that would likely be the thing that we would downgrade a bit if we are to throw on the first rival fight. So, okay, would we be all right with taking on rival Polyphemus with, I don't know, just Death Defiances or max life plus healing? I mean, if we don't have this, then bear in mind any little bits and pieces of damage that we take on that first floor can very quickly start to add up, and we may not be going into the Polyphemus fight with full life, and suddenly that becomes a big risk, even if there's that 1 guaranteed healing opportunity before Polyphemus. So all this is quite experimental. Oh, the other thing that concerned me with regard to removing all of Arcana was if we just go here, no Arcana cards activated at all. You would think that that would make Judgment light up, because it says activate no more than 3 cards. That is the case here. So it's just a little weird that you have to activate at least 1 card for that to light up, and then this as well. You would think that having no Arcana cards active at all would make these 2 automatically activate, this being the big one, and then this gives a little more rarity. So this could end horribly, is basically all that I'm saying here. I am thinking we go the aspect of Selene, and the main reason for that being that Selene, if I remember correctly, somewhat unexpectedly, was not affected by the Vow of Forfeit, so this is one way that you can actually guarantee that you get a specific type of encounter showing up and not have it just turn into an onion. So if we already have a hex from the aspect, which is the case with the aspect of Selene, we get the Skyfall. I'm not a huge fan of the hex, but combine that with guaranteed Selene very early on, likely from the first room, courtesy of taking Moonbeam on the first floor, and that means we can immediately have an upgraded hex. Not crazy upgraded, but hopefully the thing that we build around in the early stages, and then we just cross our fingers that we get other useful stuff quickly so that we are still getting by even with basically no Arcana. And then we really hope that the Judgment is truly active despite it not lighting up, because that would mean we will start to get Arcana cards over time. We cross our fingers that we get good ones early, but that is obviously completely out of our control. There are other tempting keepsakes early on in the run. Crystal Figurine, basically along the same lines as Judgment, get some of those big Arcana cards active as early as possible. Wish this was upgraded 1 more time, so I'd feel a little bit better about that. And the earlier you get it, the better, yes, but at the same time, what do you do on the first floor? Because this doesn't activate until you defeat the first boss, so it is tricky in that way. So kind of feels like when you're going this extreme on the lack of Arcana, you might need to wait on this. Another tempting thing early on would be the Jeweled Palm, because with no Arcana cards, we have no rerolls. That means we are at the Fate's Whim. We'd get +2 levels for every boon on the floor in which we take the Jeweled Palm, and we also learned every subsequent floor, even if we no longer are technically at the Fate's Whim. So that's a big deal. Yes, in that case, it does give you some immediate benefit, kind kind of like the Moonbeam, but it relies on getting good boons to get additional levels, so that is still up to chance, which makes me a little nervous, but I could be convinced that this is something we'd like to use, especially the earlier you get it, the better, because it works for the rest of the run, so that's another thing that'd be competing for the initial keepsake. But I'm thinking we go Moonbeam first, and then maybe this becomes the second floor choice if we don't happen to get Arcana cards activating that suddenly give us rerolls, and therefore we are no longer at the Fates Whim anymore. So those are the things that I'm thinking about. It is terrifying, and it may mean that this run ends almost immediately because we will have 30 life. I'm gonna throw on, just make sure it's our usual set of Arcana. I think this is, yes. So I assume that we're gonna have 0 active, given how we activated that vow that's really punitive. But we'll have that as a backup, just in case for whatever reason isn't how it plays out, and then waiting on this, just seeing if there are any other things to bear in mind. I mean, given how this is going to be our highest fear run, or at least tied for our highest fear run, and if we made it, it would be our highest fear run that we've completed, then this is not one where we are going to be able to afford such luxuries as, you know, targeting things just for the sake of prophecy completion. Yes, we do suspect that the duo boon on this hex is the one that we're missing for prophecy. If it happens to show up, great. If not, then we can't really force that. Certainly not with any rerolls. So, oh, the other thing was, I did notice.
I made a vow.
Oh, okay. That's why. That's why. I did notice that those were blocked off before I started up recording, but that means now we have to do this, so that's how they force you into activating or deactivating the right amount of stuff. Familiar. Hold on, because I was about to walk in without setting that up. Not gonna lie, just that starting life from Phrenos is awfully tempting, because I'm looking at that 30 and thinking to myself, one room that goes wrong, and it's game over, and that might not even be Polyphemus. So that is tempting. Blocks from Golly, kind of similar. It also gives us a form of defense. Definitely not you. I don't think we can afford the lack of pure defenses, and then Rocky likewise. Do get an extra Death Defiance from you that potentially messes with if we happen to get Strength activated through Judgment. So, I mean, is that reason enough not to take you? Debatable. Let me just see. Remind me what Phrenos' other benefits are. He'll occasionally jump into enemies' projectiles, blocking those. The 40 max life was the main thing. He occasionally, apparently, can jump into enemies and deal damage, but that doesn't really seem like something, or at least we haven't used him much since upgrading that, so I don't really know how much we can rely on that. Tula definitely does do more damage if we make a point of running into her. So you know what? I think it is going to be Tula. So it means we do have 30 life, which is terrifying, but it does also mean that we have a Death Defiance, which is worth 80, so that feels like a good workaround. I mean, that's more life than you get from Phrenos, so think we try it. Double check real quick. There are a few things, as I said, that I think you could make the case for tweaking, but we're gonna try this, and yeah, Moonbeam. I am hoping that Moonbeam is the very first room, or Selene shows up in the very first room, so we can immediately benefit from that Moonbeam. And we do not have the Arcana card that automatically charges up our Hex, so do need to be mindful of that, kind of hoping that that's one of the upgrades that we'll get. Otherwise, we do have to spend magic to charge it up, and obviously with limited magic to start and no magic restoration boon, that is also a risk. So here goes nothing.
With the grace of the moon.
Any bets on how many rooms we will last?
Strength, knowledge, patience.
And is it greater than 1? Okay, it is right off the bat. Oh, okay, hold on. Don't mind me, as I just make sure that we at least collect that, so that even if we fail on this room, we at least get something. Oh, and this too.
That one, Tula.
Look at that. Look at that. Even if we fail on this room, we at least get something out of this run. That's good value for one room, not gonna lie. How are we doing on Nectar? We've 3, we'll pass for now, I guess.
I call upon the moon and draw you down.
You face the Titan in the lowest depths. That much I knew before your headmistress confirmed you vanquished him, as I had faith you would. If his life force is like grains of sand, then you took one. Eventually, all. Choose
Okay.
your path.
So usually, with your first Selene encounter, you would just be unlocking the specific type of boon. However, because we have the aspect of Selene, we already have that. We go straight into upgrades, and that is critically important here. So let's see. Well, obviously we have to take this first. So we do theoretically, long-term, expect to be doing charge-up moves, because the Hex does some damage. It's not great for that, to be honest. I've generally been pretty underwhelmed with it from a damage standpoint, but it debuffs enemies so that they take a lot more damage from charged moves. So getting magic restoration at some point would be very useful. We have to take this. Let's just see what the blue ones are. Wait, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can make it to one of these ones at the end. I'm not really sure we want to increase the max magic cost, given our unusually low amount of magic at the start of this run. This is tempting, though. What do you guys do? Plus 50% damage each time it hits the same foe. Combining this with this seems like it would be really good. I wish this were over here. What are you? Extra damage to Guardians would be very nice. During the Hex, we take less damage. Also nice. So... really want some of the stuff that gives us automatic charge up. Yeah, that might be the tiebreaker here. The determining factor, because there's nothing along those lines here. If we do this, we can have it charge up a little bit, at least. Not as big on the enemies getting a bigger debuff, because it's going to be so difficult for us to use those charge up moves, at least in the very early stages. So I think it's probably going... I wish there was more. Wait, is there more of the automatic charge up on this side? There is not. Wow. Wait, where? Surely there's more somewhere on this tree. No, there's just almost none of it. Wow, that's brutal. That's... I think that's pretty unlucky. We'll take this. We'll go for you, just in anticipation of Polyphemus. And then... I think it is still going to be going here for the extra max magic. It's unfortunate, but the big thing, obviously the main reason is because it strikes enemies more times. Okay.
Selene's hidden strength.
Okay, yes, I do see that. The other reason why I wanted to take Tula was because she could legitimately be our primary source of damage here. Remember that we don't have healing. Oh, and remember that we also have to do that. Get him, Tula. Thank you. Pretty sure Tula did most of the heavy lifting there. Okay, so remember, that did not count as something that gets onionified, but this will. Has the onion icon, although Zeus probably would have been something very nice for us to have gotten. Okay, so we do need to play this very carefully. And we did see some enemies that normally would only show up on the next floor. Okay, Tula, please help us do some heavy lifting here. Fortunate that guy happened to drop right next to me. Nice. Okay, there's the onion. We at least have that out of the way. That's big. And now we are in to the city, which means now we at least have some flexibility.
What's left of Aphira?
How we approach things here. Okay, and there are few interesting rooms here. Medea, no enemies. Nice from that standpoint, just because we're so frail, at least until we can get some of those Arcana cards active, which won't happen until we defeat Polyphemus, if we can. But, so it's one step closer to Polyphemus with no enemies. It's nice. Obviously, the buff could be helpful as well, depending on what it is. There are some things that are useful the earlier you get them. So I'm eyeing that as the first room. We do oftentimes like taking Hermes early, because he also has some things that are good the earlier you take them. However, I don't know if we can afford that luxury, because I'm eyeing that double life room, and just thinking about how much I would love for us to have more than 30 life. So it just dramatically improves our margin for error. So I'm thinking that probably ends up being room number 2, unless we get something that is absolutely insane from Medea. And then Hermes, Hammer, those are big. That would be 4 rooms total. And we have, what, 6 that we can do? That means we have 2 left. So, I mean, honestly, the magic wouldn't be the worst thing, which is not typically something I find myself saying, but given how we are technically sort of a magic build, and that's the only thing we have to work with at the moment, there might be something to be said for that. Otherwise, Hephaestus, Demeter for the freeze so often is just so useful defensively. Well, there are 2 Hephaestus rooms, that is a little bit tempting. Start working on some synergies there. It would be, we think, Ares who combines for the duo on this hex, but we don't see him here, so that is not really a factor. And then remember, we obviously will get the shop, if we can make it that far, before the Polyphemus fight. We don't have any of the usual sources of bonus gold at the beginning of the run, so that's going to be harder for us to do big things there. It's Medea first. I think that much is clear. So let's go here.
To all the enemies of Hades, near and far.
Yeah, we've definitely heard this numerous times, so I'm not going to concern myself with
All your hair.
how we are interrupting her here.
Great Hecate informs me you have regularly crossed the morning fields. There's something I would ask, as much as it pains me.
Oh?
For a concoction I've been dying to complete.
Hmm?
Certainly no harm in asking, Lady Medea. What is it that you seek, and to what end?
I need the vapor from the tears spilled by sorry souls that linger in that place. If you could gather up some tears declaring them for me, then collect their boiled essence from your cauldron, I'd be very much obliged.
So obviously we do have a lot of the tears from defeating Cerberus. This strongly suggests we're about to get new incantation unlocks, but I have no idea what it's going to be for, so I'm very intrigued. And again, just another thing you can check off the list of, hey, at least we got something out of this run, even if we fail almost immediately.
And which sort of concoction would be possible once you possess these essences of sorrow?
That's what I'm wondering.
One that shall be of no small benefit to you and I alike. You needn't go too far out of your way, of course.
Hmm?
Of course.
Okay,
Harm for
let's
the
see.
afflicted, is it?
Oh, what was that? Okay, so if we had Death Defiances, this would be great. Well, we do have 1 from Tula, but we don't have our usual starting 3, so it's definitely worse. I was, when I was talking about, ooh, if we get a good Medea boon, that could potentially change our approach, I was thinking about the Suffering on Sight, because if this can immediately delete some enemies for us, that could just make such a huge difference. The healing, yeah, can potentially add up over time. I don't know if this is going to come in big enough bursts for that to be meaningful, though. I mean, yes, that's 10. That's a third of our life right now. So 10 healing is significant at the moment, but we can still take a lot more than just 10 damage in one room. So just avoiding taking damage altogether by deleting the enemies altogether, I think is still what I'm going to go with here.
Of course.
And there is the prophecy foretold. So it's listed as a prophecy rather than an incantation. I mean, they may very well turn into an incantation once we get back to the crossroads. That's what it seems like, but all right, back we go.
Stand in our way.
And hopefully, with a little more offense from that, we can fare a little bit better here. And now,
look around.
yeah, I was leaning toward the life just to give ourselves, as I was saying, more margin for error. I feel like that would go a long way. If we do find Heracles in any of these rooms, I'm just going to say it right now, I am probably just going to let him kill everything for safety reasons. Oh, or Artemis for that matter.
I know that voice.
It does likely mean this is going to be a longer encounter, but that's okay. If Artemis is going to do the work for us, then that's alright. I might facilitate things a bit. Uh-oh. That's actually a really big deal, even a single hit, because
One less
we
pony.
cannot heal. Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, and some of the enemies are loading in, having already taken a bunch of damage. That's good to see. We do have to chase these around a bit, which is a bit of a problem. I'm not sure that I got all those in time. Excuse me. Nope.
Nice shot.
Okay, so we took one small hit. The thing is that one small hit was a huge fraction of our max life. So fortunately, with this, that's no longer as dramatic of a factor. And 80 life, I think, is that more or less what we tend to start off with, usually. So now, doing much better from a life standpoint. The lack of healing is still a factor, though, for sure. But we also get a boon from Artemis, which we were not expecting to see, so that's very nice. I think we're still going to be a little bit stingy when it comes to passing out the nectar, though.
You don't truly believe Prometheus can see the future, do you? He probably just has heightened instincts like yours.
Excuse me? Nobody has instincts as heightened as these, sister. But I've never claimed to know precisely what's to come. Even if I could, I think I'd miss all the suspense.
Alright, so let's see. Random foe is marked. If they take critical damage, it gets repeated. Any damage can be critical. After we hit enemies with our attacks or specials, we fire a seeking arrow. I'm gonna be honest with you. We have no idea at this point what type of build we're going to end up being, because right now it's just all Hex and nothing but the Hex, and Medea's boon as well, but basically we don't know if we're an attack, special, cast build, any of that stuff, so it's a little hard to plan around. Well, I guess some of Artemis's boons give you crit on only one of those things. That's not really the case here. This is everything gets crit chance, and this is specific targets, which could be a little tricky. This one, yeah, it does need to be attack or special. That's still enough stuff that I feel like we can probably make this work. And we do have a pretty good base speed on this weapon for our attacks. A little less so for the special, but okay. And no mini rooms here. Was wondering if we might see some of these guys show up. Just a good example of the little bit of extra damage we get. Yeah, I partially picked that option that we just took from Artemis because it felt a little bit safer. We don't necessarily need to force the issue running straight into enemies that have the mark on them and potentially get ourselves in trouble that way. We can instead keep our distance and potentially just pick some enemies off with the extra assistance of that little chip damage, which combined with Medea could be enough to actually finish some enemies off between those two things. Okay, going for this. Oh, that's not the type of enemy that I wanted to see.
Now, Shade.
Excuse me. Okay, I was kind of, waiting to see if those would land. Oh, did I hit too low? If so, then that's good. Wasn't really intended, but you're nasty. You're really nasty. What? Oh, whoa, and then he still got me, and that almost blew up on me. I first had no idea who was left. I thought it was one of the green orb things, but I couldn't find it. Then I saw him in the corner, and he just attacked me before I could hit him. Unfortunate. Again, all the damage adds up quickly, given how we don't have healing. Little less so now that we have more max life. This could be helpful. This, earlier you get it, the better. I think we do take it. I think I heard, yep, 2 side rooms. Okay, do need to be careful here. These can actually be pretty dangerous. They do range in value, but honestly, the max magic is useful for helping to charge up the Hex. Now that's a little bit easier to do. Still need to be careful in this one. It's a mini shop. I don't know how I feel about that. Now that we got the extra gold, I guess I'm feeling a little better about it. Could we buy and expedite something, then pick this up so we get the palm slice? Because right now, I don't believe, can get leveled up. Can this get leveled up? It might be able to. And that's Hex, so that can't be leveled. This obviously can't be leveled, so Just don't want to miss out on that
No
if it
use.
is oh, we have to take it first, okay. Now, none of that stuff was possible to level up. That's
Hermes
unfortunate.
must be in the area.
Okay, so we do have a shop that we have to go into before the Polyphemus fight. So I don't want to be broke in that fight. We do have, or in that shop, I should say. We do have a little more coin earning potential, and we got a little bit of extra money from that Hermes boon, but I'm not sure that that's enough for us to... Maybe we go delayed healing. I mean, yes. Basically, we do have some healing that's going to come from the fountain, but what taking this does is it basically means if for whatever reason we find ourselves taking a lot more damage than we wanted to in these rooms, we can use the well to heal mid-floor, and then this will get delivered and basically serve the same function that the pool would usually serve, healing us just before the Polyphemus fight. So, timing is kind of nice in that way. Obviously, max life long-term is better. An extra boon long-term would presumably be better. These things are obviously more expensive. Also takes way longer for this to get delivered. Whereas this one, I think, does get delivered just before Polyphemus, much like this. So, there's a chance it's right after. It's tricky. So I'm not sure how much more gold we are going to earn here on this floor. But, you know what? I'm gonna go this.
Delivery
It would have been
coming
this
soon.
because that's, I think, a good price for it. It's just that 8 room delivery time is pretty crazy. You know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. And so now, basically, what I'm doing is I'm committing to likely only buying one thing from that shop. Oh, it's only 3 rooms before. Okay, so that means that stuff is not going to show up before Polyphemus. It's showing up just after. So yeah, we don't have much time to build up gold. Ooh. Before that fight. These guys theoretically might give us a tiny bit. That's theoretically the reason for doing this. He says as he hits the barrier rather than the enemies. One of those guys gave us 1 gold. I don't think the extra 30% from Hermes is going to amount to anything here. I think that is a rounding error. And by that I mean that it is rounded to nothing. But you never know. Maybe that 1 or 2 extra pieces of gold that we just picked up will be significant. Okay, so given how we did get a little bit of magic, I'm feeling less like we need the magic room here. Obviously, that's a double magic, but still. I think Hammer certainly has the most upside, and then double Hephaestus is tempting, certainly for damage reasons, although the Demeter freeze effect on a cast or a special would be really tempting as well. Let's take this first, though. I'm gonna try to blow some enemies up with that. Not sure that it worked, though.
Hold still in their shades.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Oop. I didn't realize that guy was moving. He was schmoving. So it is nice how we can kind of just throw out a few of the specials, as long as we're staying relatively mobile. Not necessarily even have to worry too much about, are we targeting the enemies directly? Well, not all that much. Ooh, got stuck for a second there. Nope, nope, nope. Got stuck again. That was closer than I would have liked it to have been. Okay, I do see that. Where's Tula, out of curiosity? Ooh. No, I really don't like this. In several ways. Oh, I was too slow. That's bad. Yeah, this is getting a little out of control here. Especially if I don't get rid of these guys soon. Did not turn into one of the things that I have to pick up, which is nice. I'd like to get rid of you. Tula, if you don't mind providing a helping hand. Okay. Not great in terms of how much damage we took there. That was tricky, the crowded rooms. Okay. Whenever your attack strikes foes, special has a 25% chance to fire automatically. I mean, if that has a chance to double trigger support fire, then that is kind of tempting. After blocking with charge attack, special auto fires 5 shots, reloading after 3 seconds. Attack has bigger base power and deals damage in a larger area. That is also nice. Obviously, just pure damage, but also the area of effect means we're a little bit safer as we're doing that. We aren't as much right on top of the enemies. I am kind of tempted by the... I mean, this is a little more gimmicky, and I think in terms of pure damage, it's not as much. And I'm just thinking about... I'm thinking about Polyphemus specifically. I do think the special is probably going to be a bigger factor than the attack, just because the attack is much closer range than the special, even if you factor that in. So, maybe it is this.
Done here.
No side rooms? No. Okay, so we aren't desperate for healing right now, but this was potentially the case to be made for getting that healing to show up just before Polyphemus, so that we could, if we wanted to, heal right now, get up to basically full... actually, that's a little bit over healing right now, so yeah, we wouldn't want to do it right now anyway. But you can heal a little bit earlier from this, and then still get healing just before Polyphemus, but unfortunately the timing doesn't quite work out that way. So I'm thinking we're doing this for more defensive reasons, and then Hephaestus will be for offensive reasons. Moment. Tula is legitimately one of our best offensive tools, which seems a little silly to say, but at the same time, we have fully upgraded her offensively, so it's not that outlandish of a statement, I guess.
Go, Tula.
It is nice, as I said, to just kind of spam the special button and not even necessarily need to aim with it, but just hope that it's gonna do something. Ooh, that was close. Accidentally ran into Tula, but we take those. Ooh, darn it. Okay, that's alright. Not too bad. There we go. Okay, so nice. No damage there.
If it is true you reached the underworld's depths and slew that wretched titan there, then good. It likely shall take more than that, I know. But you must have inflicted some amount of pain and perhaps fear. Which is a start.
Now, fear is what we're experiencing right now. Okay. So, all common rarity, but this is more or less just what I was looking for in a way. Sprint forms a gust. Magic restoration would be good for charging up the hex. I think it's still going to have to be this.
Cold comfort.
And did we take the one that prevents us from seeing the ones that we don't pick on this run? Hold on, let's double check. See, the fact that we don't have strength, or rather, judgment here is terrifying me. And so if judgment is not actually active on this run, then it's game over, basically. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, we sort of saw some things suggesting that might have been the case when we were tinkering with turning off all the Arcana cards. For some reason, that meant that there was no judgment at all there, even though you would think that it should be active. So the fact that that was the first thing we should have checked, was whether it showed up here. So I think that may mean that we are doomed. But hey, we've already gotten at least some stuff out of this run. Oh, including a very nice max life upgrade with no enemies in this tiny little room. A little more crafting resources while we're at it as well. So, I mean, to be at over 100 life when we started with, what, 30 at the beginning of this run? That is quite nice. Does also mean that I think this heals us for more, yeah, because it's percentage-based healing. Okay, but yeah, if we don't get Arcana cards activating after we defeat Polyphemus, then we have no chance. And it's all just a bonus of sorts. Just seeing what we can pick up and what functionally turned into a test. A scientific experiment. And that did give them a bunch of wards, a bunch of shields, which is unfortunate. Woo! Hold on. Tula doing what Tula does best, and that is all of our damage, basically. Ooh, didn't go enough. Actually, I also did not expect there to be another wave. Oh, that was bad. Oh, I was gonna say, I thought I saw something say 14, and I was thinking to myself, that seems like more damage than we tend to see on this floor, and that is correct. That's because these guys are usually not on this floor.
Right clever of old man Kronos to recruit a bunch of bitter dead against us, ain't it? We got them killed in wars in such. Reckon the payback's only fair. More chances for me handiwork to shine.
The nice thing would be if the nightmare boss on this run was Polyphemus, then all we would need to do would be get past the first boss to get that nightmare, but it's Typhon. So, like, if we are not getting Judgment for the rest of this run, then yeah, that's that's never gonna happen. Okay, getting an attack boon would be really nice. If we don't have Judgment, then we're never going to get other Arcana cards activated, which means we're never going to get extra rarity percentage from those Arcana cards. If we do have Judgment, despite it not showing that, then, so I'm highly skeptical of that, then we could potentially see some of those rarity boosters getting activated later on, in which case future boons could be better than the ones that we see here. But, I mean, this actually would have been pretty useful early on, not going to lie. You get the cast damage, that is actually quite useful as well, because it gives us a relatively safe way to hit enemies. We don't need to be standing right on top of that cast the whole time. We can do more hit and run, kind of like what we're doing with the special, even if this is obviously a lot more damage in total. I mean, this does hit 3 times, potentially, so it does still add up to a decent amount. We do have a little bit more going for the attack because of the hammer upgrade. So from that standpoint, we'd like to... I think we're still going with the cast, to be honest with you. Okay, and no side rooms here. So we got up to 170 gold. And should still be able to fully heal here, which is really nice. Did I hear? I did hear some additional stuff. It actually gave us a decent amount. Definitely hear another one. Yep, I sure do. That gives us a little bit more. So yeah, we definitely have enough for a boon. We would not have enough for a hammer. If a hammer shows up, that'd be kind of cruel. There's a chance... I don't think we'd have enough left over to buy anything in addition to a boon, if there is one there. Maybe if there's max life, we might be able to get something else, but... I guess if there's golden urns in there, that might change things a bit. But here we go.
Farewell, Athera.
Let's see. There is a golden urn. Oh. I saw the palm slice. Before we broke that golden urn, I was thinking, oh, maybe there's a chance. Well, remember when I said that maybe the little bit of extra gold that we get from defeating those enemies in the city itself might be a difference maker? Yeah, if we had a few more of those, then it would have done the trick. But unfortunately, that is not the case here. Aphrodite, we do not have anything from her yet, but we definitely have to take that. Let's see what Charon has to say, though.
We got him finally, Lord Charon. The Titan can be slain, if but to complicate his schemes a little while, till we can put a stop to him for good. Yes, my father's throne shall be restored.
Okay, so we'll take this. I think that's I mean, you could make the case that this is actually more valuable than this is, because we can upgrade one of our damage dealing boons. I think all of our other ones, as we saw before when we picked up the nectar, were not level upable. So we'd get more damage from one of these. Honestly, I think that is the way to go. It's the cast. Went from, I think, 60 damage to now 80 damage per hit. That's decent. That's pretty good. Okay, so if we can get past Polyphemus, maybe we get more Arcana cards unlocked. I really don't think that's gonna happen, because I think we would need to see strength showing up here. So I think we just set ourselves up for failure, even more so than we have on other times when we've messed around with Arcana cards, but hey, we'll see what happens.
Oh, there she is. Funny, running into you again and again like this. It's made for some of the best sleep I got in years.
Oh, look at that. We're making friends with Polyphemus now.
Is that so? Well, it would be even easier for me to knock you out cold if you didn't fight back.
True.
The fight's what does the trick. I don't give it my all. I don't get that deep, relaxing slumber afterwards, or the opportunity to get a hearty meal.
Okay, so fortunately we have picked up a fair bit more life and we got all the healing, so we're back up to a little over 100 right now. So that's good. We do still have a Death Defiance from Tula if necessary. Obviously, I'd rather not have to use it here, but we are a little weaker than usual. We have some damage coming from our... I mean, obviously our attack, yes, it has a hammer upgrade that's helping it, although we don't have a direct attack boon boosting us up. The special, with freeze and range, so we can do it safely, that's maybe the biggest thing. And then the cast, if we set it proactively and then run away as he's jumping in or walking over to it, then that could also be useful as well. Then the Hex, it does charge up automatically very slowly, so we probably would need to use some magic for it to be reliable, but it does technically have extra damage against Guardians, so it is nice in that way. Ooh, hello. Is he in that? He was just barely in that. That's nice. I see that. And that. You missed. Okay, there we go. First phase. It is a lot easier when it's just the base version of him.
I'll find you.
And not the rival fight. One moment. Okay, and like when he's doing this, as long as I don't walk into the fire, theoretically we can poke him a bit fairly easily. Oh, that was a window. I didn't really capitalize it on as much as I would have liked to, and that was closer than I would have liked as well. There we go. Next phase. Tula, want to help us out here? I don't know why he didn't detect us there, to be honest with you, but...
Oh, come on.
Come on, Tula. Do your thing. We do have the Hex. We do kind of need to be close to him for that to work. It's the unfortunate part. Tula, I would prefer greatly if you were to attack Polyphemus rather than his ads. Admittedly, I probably could have done a better job of, do that. Could have done a better job, there we go, of taking him out with the Hex, or getting rid of those guys before I activated Tula, but I don't know if we took any damage, which is nice, for sure. And now we get the crafting reward, we get a little bit of gemstones, and we get Aphrodite was the mystery boon.
You really got him, didn't you, gorgeous? Our little birdie told me everything, how you fought all the way into those rancid depths and took that Kronos down. Though he's already back and angrier than ever, isn't he?
Yeah, probably. Not gonna lie, at first I wasn't sure if you were referring to Polyphemus, because this was a rare situation in which we actually got a boon directly in a boss fight room. But not the case here. Also, I don't remember how much we paid for this one. It was probably less than the 150 we would have needed to pay in the full-blown shop, so you can look at it that way. We basically ended up getting Aphrodite at a small discount. And... extra life and magic? I mean, I'm kind of tempted, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think we probably will. I mean, that's not a bad dash boon to have, but we'll take this, and... Nope. Nope. No judgment. No judgment, which means, as we feared, we are doomed. We are doomed after all.
Mess.
So we'll see how far we can get, but we now know you need at least one Arcana card activated in order to get Judgment doing its thing, which does feel very inaccurate with the description of Judgment, where it says activate less than 3 Arcana cards. We have less than 3 Arcana cards active. We have no Arcana cards active. So feel a little slighted. I would be more annoyed by that if we didn't have some warning signs in advance that that was probably going to be the outcome, but okay. Now, is there potentially still a way to get Judgment active even when you have no grasp for a run? I don't know. So maybe we just messed up. Hold on though, let's see if we can get a little more out of this run from getting this guy. Alright, so given the circumstances, I feel like we got already enough out of this run that I feel like, alright, we made the most out of this very poor opportunity. Anything else from this stage is a bonus. So let's see, we were eyeing potentially going with the Jeweled Palm because it means every boon from here on out is going to become stronger. We no longer need the Moonbeam. If we were to do Crystal Figurine and it somehow happened to land on Judgment, then it actually would give us some Arcana. I mean, we could get some Arcana cards at least, but the Judgment could eventually give us more. But it's all, in that case, still happening later than we would like it to happen, and so there's this ripple effect, and by the time we get to the end of the run, we still have far fewer Arcana cards than we would like to have had. Whereas if we did have Judgment, then we would already have 5 active here. So, I don't know, if Crystal Figurine activates when we defeat a Guardian, and it triggers the Judgment, does Judgment immediately trigger because you just defeated a Guardian, or does that happen just after the Guardian is defeated and therefore it does not immediately unlock 5 more Arcana cards and you have to wait 1 more floor before that happens? Because if that's the case, then yeah, there's a serious delay, and it sure is still helpful, but it's not going to give you that much. So I think we are just abandoning that altogether, maybe, and we go Jeweled Palm. Otherwise, you could make the case to go with the Narcissus Keepsake before we click on this, and that way we get something very highly upgraded, one of these two, and I mean, either one of them could be really useful. Probably would prefer for it to be the special. I mean, honestly, that might be more impactful. At least in the short term, it certainly would be. How much extra damage do we get from this jumping all the way up to heroic rarity? It might go up as high as 80%. Basically doubling the damage bonus. So I'm a little tempted by it. It does also mean for the rest of this floor that we have extra healing. Only from fountains, though. It is possible to get random fountains on the next floor. So that it's speculative, but there is a chance that that's a non-zero value. This is certainly long-term if we make it past this next floor and onto the 3rd and potentially even 4th floors. Then yes, the Jeweled Palm is better because it, I believe, lasts for the remainder of the run, even once you take it off. So, maybe, you know what, we'll take this, because it's another way, even if this run ends early, we can just get a little more ranks, or a little more encounters cleared with this Keepsake. It's not going to be enough to rank it up just from, even if we finish a full floor with it, but it gets us closer. So, it gives us a little more value. Oh, it also gives us, hold on, I always forget, a new boon from Hades. Cast launch a projectile that seeks foes and does 200 damage, which, okay, that's not nothing. I mean, that's the same price as a usual boon, maybe because it gets delivered in just 2 encounters, so we're not getting any real discount there. Delayed healing is tempting, but given how limited our cash is right now, sure, we do have more gold earning potential, but I think that just means we wait for future shops, potentially, and we are on full life at the moment. What is this one? Oh, that's max life, coming in a while. Okay. It's almost like healing, in a way.
Moving on.
So yeah, any and everything from here on out, it's a bonus. We have made our scientific discovery.
Dogs.
Now we're just seeing if we can get any additional resources along the way, which we have already had surprisingly good luck with thus far. Remember, enemies can show up from the next floor, and enemies also will show up with having taken some damage. Right, cast is especially good. Okay, so we do get more gold than we would usually get. So this is really worth 130, whereas this is the equivalent of 125 at a shop. However, it also, this is potential future value when you cash in that money. This is immediately, once you pick it up, you get the life. So I might still go for the life for that reason.
Breaking through.
Someone just died immediately. You also were in the fire, which I did not appreciate. I also did not mean to destroy that. That is an enemy from the next floor. One would think that hanging out in the lava would do damage to you. Is it because you're flying? You're technically a floating enemy, and that's why you weren't taking damage from the fire? That might be the case. Okay, so that's 29. Oh, right, we're also getting more value for max life upgrades because of that. Oh, that would have been upgradable as well. The spiritual affirmation. That might have gotten hit by the Narcissus. Had we taken that? Obviously we didn't. Okay, I don't like you. Remember? Oh, hold on. Hit. Ooh, hold on. The cast is a projectile now. Counterintuitively. Oh, I did not see that you had turned into one of those things. Okay. Bones, honestly... Oh, hold on. To think there was such a long time when we were just desperately waiting to pick up some of those, so that we needed it for the hidden axe aspect. We only have the 3 that we just picked up from that, or something along those lines. Bones, kind of useful if you think that, yeah, this is not really about us finishing this run, it's about us just gathering however many resources we can get. Back in the crossroads! Go, Tula. Do your thing. Take him out. Stun lock him. Freeze lock him. There we go. Alright, look at that.
Always use more.
Get 100 bones out of that. We get more max life. Suddenly we're on almost 200 life. Still in the relatively early stages of this floor. That is a lot. We only have 1 Death Defiance. So if you factor that in, it's less than usual. Get Path of Stars after 2 rooms. More Selene action. That would be kind of nice. Delayed healing. More max life, which again is more valuable than usual. We will also see a guaranteed shop before the boss on this floor, though that is a ways away. If we do this, we do actually still have some gold remaining. So you know what? I think I am going to double up.
Should get here soon.
Not going to expedite either of these, in large part because that's so quick, and then we have enough life that I'm hoping this is not urgent. Okay. We still have yet to get the onion effect, which also means it's going to be a little while before we can benefit from this. We did have this exact combo on our previous run, so we do know that that is a bit of an anti-synergy there. But that's okay. As I said, just picked that up because... Oh, that was not... picked it up just because we wanted to get additional XP, whatever you want to call it, for the keepsake. Okay, I would really like, yeah, if you would go down, and then also if I could pick that up.
Change of course.
Oh no, this is what we need for the duo boon. And we're also getting Selene later on, so it would be perfect, except that you're going to be onionified, so it doesn't matter what we take here, it's going to get changed regardless. Ugh. Maybe it sets Ares precedent? I don't think it does. That's, I believe, what they call wishful thinking. There's another enemy from the next floor, and it is a nasty... Oh, no, it's not a crazy nasty one. It's not the one that I thought it was. There's the onion. So at least
Crunchy.
that's now done. Yeah, it would have been absolutely perfect timing for the Selene upgrade. That's why I didn't expedite this one, because it came quite quickly. Could go up here. More damage each time it hits the same foe, which combined with that I think is really good. And hits more times in succession along the way. I think that's nice. And then although it might be tempting to go here, I think further increasing the magic cost is not really something we want to do. I really wish there was more way to charge it up automatically, because we still don't have a lot of ways to spend magic sustainably right now. Well, we don't have any ways really to sustain magic.
The night of the moon.
Okay.
Like
Hermes. Ooh. Okay, well this would have been the
Are nowhere to be found.
the healing well that I was referring to before. Also, there's oftentimes a mini shop here. I'm surprised there isn't. Oh, hold on. Little more bones value for more fish. We'll take what we can get.
Caught out.
Thank you, Tula.
Excellent catch, Tula.
Excellent catch indeed.
In the name of Hades.
Charge moves are faster. Very unlikely we're ever gonna reach this. It would be air we'd be most likely to hit. But we're a ways away. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Charge moves are faster whenever you slay. I mean, I guess it's mean streak. I don't really know that we're going to be setting any speed run records, so I don't know that that's going to be doing much, but it'll give us a very small damage boost. Honestly, Cersei is really helpful. I mean, any room that does not have enemies in it, it technically does mean we're not progressing this as much as we might like, but it does mean fewer enemies for us to fight on a run when we are very weak.
A bit of solid ground.
Yeah, I didn't really think of how, from this angle, it looks like this is a ship. But from here, it looks like it's solid ground. Is it technically a shipwreck? Because once you get here near Cersei, like, this is definitely not a ship.
Evening, little pigs.
And also, canonically, Cersei is on an island, I believe. I think, once again, we're probably passing on the gifts.
I almost didn't recognize that animal familiar of yours.
Ah.
Which means you've made good use of alteration of familiar forms. Have your little beasts enjoyed the big change?
They've issued no complaints, though what changes I've seen only seem to affect their outward appearance. Is that the intended result?
Why, yes, of course. It's the familiar's equivalent to a change of dress or style.
Tell that to
Of
Arachne.
late, we've little time for such indulgences ourselves, but at least we can pamper our friends.
Okay, now I was also thinking there are a few things that Cersei can potentially do that would be incredible here. Like, I think activating an inactive Arcana card, if it were to give us Judgment, that'd be insane. But, and then also removing one of the fear factors that we have active, but I don't think we are getting either of those. Get smaller, faster, and get dodge chance. Any healing is stronger, and we get some healing now. We don't need it at this precise moment, but it definitely could be useful long term. I mean, if we had the Arcana card that at least gives us the 5 healing per room, we have at least some guaranteed source of healing in that case, but we don't. Get bigger and get more damage with our weapon. I think I might go the defensive route here with this. I think given how we don't have the consistent sources of healing we would typically have, this is not as good as this. Maybe.
Oh, look at you.
Did it work?
Alright. Doesn't seem like there's anything else here. Carry on we shall. You are armor. No more. Also, hoping Tula to help us out would have been useful. I do see the green. That was a little closer than I would have liked it to have been. Oh, what? You threw your javelin at me from point blank. Okay, I think it probably does have to be this. Yeah, I basically just haven't been using magic at all, but still. It would be nice to have the ability to use magic, but still. And we can use some, to be fair. It is a bit of an overreaction to say that we cannot use any magic at all. I do see that. Hold on. Oh, yep. There are more where that came from. It'd be nice if there were an Icarus appearance, but that does typically mean that the encounter is really long. And that's in part why I was saying maybe that would be the case here. Ooh, that was closer than I would have liked it to have been. You lived? Not cool. Okay. No Icarus. Just a palm. And with that palm, yeah, I think we're definitely... I think we're upgrading the special. We theoretically... Yeah, we got 20 extra damage the first level, now it's just 15, so small diminishing returns there.
Stronger.
And remember, every room gives us more bones, because this is the bonus bones weapon. Is this about to be the penultimate room? I think it is. Wow. Okay, this was possibly the easiest floor we've ever had for this, because, the Rift of Thessaly, because we had, what, at least 2 rooms with no enemies in them, if not more than that. Well, 3 if you factor in this one that we're about to walk into as well.
The foremost ship.
Oh, okay. Let's get a little more value from this if we can. There we go. All right. Just doing what we can here. And speaking of which, yes, this is the penultimate room, which means Eris is the next encounter, which means this is going to be very tricky. We can either get more Demeter, and attack would probably be the thing that we'd be looking for. Otherwise, we get life. We do get 29 rather than the usual 25 life out of this, so it would be a lot to have at this stage. But we offensively are not great at the moment. Also, by taking this, we get 2 extra levels, courtesy of our keepsake. We really haven't... Yeah, I don't think we've been able to use this at all on this floor. So it would be kind of nice. Long term, if we can get past Eris, then this is probably better. Let's try it. Okay. So we can get level 3 attack. Yeah, that is nice. Charge cast is more damage. Freeze effects last longer. That is really tempting, not gonna lie to you. Really tempting. The freeze coming from our special, which is the thing that in many ways we are spamming the most. So, I mean, otherwise you get another source of freeze from this, but remember that, of course, when an enemy is on freeze cooldown, it doesn't matter if you're hitting them with a different source of freeze, they're still on freeze cooldown, so having that freeze last 3.5 seconds longer, it's not as big of a deal against bosses, because they are not as affected by freeze, and obviously the boss encounter is longer, so it's more likely that they will be on freeze cooldown for a significant portion of it, whereas for basic enemies, you might be able to take them out before they even become unfrozen, I believe is the word, Lids. I mean, given how we're about to fight Eris, this feels the most applicable. If we make it past Eris, this is probably more useful. So it's a little bit greedy, but we'll see what we can do here. Special is gonna be key. And the Hex, if we can get that in time, that'd be great. Afterward, we will get extra life from a delayed heart. So I guess, again, that's sort of like the equivalent of this, just right after the boss fight, kind of like what we saw with Polyphemus. That is, if we can defeat Eris, and that is definitely not a given. Definitely not a given. But as I said, everything from here on out is bonus. It has been a bonus for a while now, so we can beat her. Great. If not, so be it.
You're here. Woo, this is my kind of night. Real feeding frenzy out there, like everything is just way more. No idea what's going on, but I like it.
I assume she's referring to the high fear we have on this run?
You never gave any consideration to the Oath of the Unseen, yet remain one of its main beneficiaries. Perhaps your mother Nyx did something for you after all.
Remember, our voice sounds a little different. We sound a little bit like a chipmunk because we became smaller.
You mean these occasional evenings of complete and total depravity are meant to make up for everything Nyx didn't do? Well, I guess it's a start.
Oh, we also do have honestly, the Hades boom that gives us more damage on the cast. That may be our best source of damage.
Got you.
Okay. Oh, can I stand there long enough to actually take damage from that? I'm honestly not sure. Summon ads. Oh, also activate Tula while I'm at it. Okay, I do not know what she's doing, which is concerning. She's doing this. We got rid of at least one of them immediately with Medea, which is really nice. This stinks. Or at least it would have stunk. Okay, that's the first phase. Obviously, she becomes more powerful now, which is unfortunate. I did not even see that she was doing that. Well, I tried to get her with the cast there, but I did not sneak it in time. That's a very bad place to be standing for that. Oh, that was close. That's also a very bad place to be standing. Hello, that was close as well. That was kind of funny with the freeze effect, slowing her down there. Okay, next phase. She's even more mad. She's madder. Ooh, that was very close. Love to be standing closer to you as this is going off. Ooh, that's bad. That was also very close. Surely you were very close to, yep, doing that. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I don't want to. Oh, no, please don't do that, though. Oh, the cast was in the wrong place. That's what was happening there. Yep, that was... I think we beat her without taking any damage if that cast was not hanging out in the wrong place. But I think we still heal off all the damage we took there, which is way better. That went way smoother than I thought it was going to go.
I am. Special delivery.
So we still get this, get a little more gems, get the delayed max life, and I'm pretty sure that we can heal off all this damage, which is very good. As I said, I really did not think we were going to make it this far.
Come on, Tula.
But at this point, this floor, even just the basic rooms, become quite dangerous. So that is a concern. And now, so theoretically, I think that the Jeweled Palm will remain in effect functionally even once we swap it off. So I think that means we basically use whatever we want here. We could go for Narcissus now if we wanted to. And in doing so, rarify... We still don't have that many boons. Probably would still like for it to be the special, which is now at least one level higher than it was on the previous floor. But we don't know that it's going to land there. Alternatively, I mean, we can do some stuff for boss-specific things if we think we're going to make it to the Prometheus fight. We have 207 life, which is pretty good. Especially if we can make that number go up a little bit higher. Again, no death defiances. That's, well, no normal death defiances, just the guaranteed Tula one. So, I mean, at this point, I think it almost certainly is too late to get any sort of meaningful value from Crystal Figurine. I mean, certainly if it randomly lands on Judgment, which was already a very small probability to begin with, but yes, sure, there are some things that it could land on that would be helpful, but with only one floor to benefit from that, potentially, I'm thinking short-term right now. I'm not really thinking long-term anymore. So, I mean, honestly, this is pretty tempting. Or if we make it past the next fight, well, I was gonna say, if we make it to the next floor, we could break this out. No, if we make it to the next floor, there's no way we could ever defeat Typhon, period. But if we were to even attempt to do so, we would need one of these, right? So, I think that means for this floor, it legitimately could be this. And then we probably rank it up in the process. Sure. You know what, or, oh no, but this doesn't, wait. Tula's Death Defiance does not count for Athena, does it? Or rather, it does. Like, Athena cannot show up when we have Tula's Death Defiance. Despite it being technically sort of a different category of Death Defiance, I think we still would be prevented from seeing Athena. So this does not work in this situation. That would actually be a good case for not taking Tula and deliberately taking the Gorgon Amulet. But that is a thing of the past. That is a moot point because we did take Tula. So we can't change that now. I mean, this, honestly, just to make it so we can actually use magic and charge up our Hex more easily would be kind of useful. So that's also a little bit tempting, and in doing so, we potentially might see this rank up. Although I'm also a little bit hesitant to spend a bunch of time charging up our moves when we want to be very careful about taking damage and can't heal off that damage, which, you know, in the past when we've used charge up builds, that has oftentimes been when we get hit, even if those charge moves do a lot of damage. So I'm thinking it's tough. I think it is either this or it's one of these guys. And this one, if we use it, it's then gone. You know, it's useless. But if we do somehow make it past Prometheus, then if we use Knuckle Bones, that means we could potentially either stick with Knuckle Bones, or we could swap onto Luckier Tooth on the final floor if we have a preference there. So I think it's still Fig Leaf. In part just because I want to try leveling it up. Let's do this. Let's see what we get here. We have 83 gold, so it's unlikely we can do much. Definitely can't do that. Yeah, and I've seen a few now that have the delivery after 2 encounters, and I've noticed that it's always, well, I would say always the same price that it would usually be in a standard shop where you get the item immediately, although technically a mystery boon is usually less than 150. You get a discount because it's a mystery, so this is actually more than it would usually be. Delayed healing, we can afford it. It is a little tempting, given how, as I said, this is a dangerous floor. So if we're just trying to make it through at any cost, then, well, that's the cost, potentially. Otherwise, you just try to save up, and maybe it makes it easier to get stuff that it gives you more long-term value, or you can buy things at the shop before Prometheus, if we make it that far. I don't know if we're going to make it that far. So, you know what? Sure, I'll do it. And then, given our extra gold earning potential, we just cross our fingers that we'll still have just enough that we can still do some things in future encounters. Okay, please don't activate the Fig Leaf in one of these rooms that would usually have almost no enemies in it to begin with. Like this, for example. Okay, good. That is not the case. So that would be a waste of the Fig Leaf, one would think. Okay, so we could get more gold. We get extra gold. We could get more life. We get extra life. In either case, it's some bonus value. I think it might be gold. So that if we do see a mini shop, immediately we can use it. So there is a timing aspect to the gold, whereas the life, yes, obviously we get the immediate value from it, but given how we are poor, ooh, I hate this. Really hate this. I do love this wall that is protecting us from this guy, but I do need to run over to get this, and I got stuck for a second there. Okay, more enemies? Yes, unfortunately. One moment while I attempt to hide there. Ooh, I got stuck for a second there. Got this. Not sure that I hit you with the projectile directly on that occasion. Combination of what is basically damage over time on the cast, plus the freeze. Excuse me? More enemies? Oh, and they hit so hard. And one of those enemies is, of course, from the final floor, which is really nasty. That is something that we potentially signed up for. So, oh, there it is. Yep. Can't come as too much of a surprise. Oh my god! Thought I was running past it, not immediately running into it. Well, I mean, I guess I sort of did. I guess I thought he had to do more of an animation to actually count as dealing damage to us. Okay, so that's what I mean. This room has the potential, this floor has the potential to be very nasty. It could end on any room, really. Even just normal rooms before the boss fight. But as I said, anything from here on out is a bonus. And Selene, we have big stuff from her already, but could still benefit from more. And at this point, obviously, we could see our keepsake activate, as it does right here.
Cheers, Dionysus, sir.
Thank you, Dionysus. So that's why we took it, to give ourselves one easy room with just bonuses. Given how we just took a bunch of damage from the previous room, that's not a bad thing. More damage on the Hex, activates more times, we take less damage during the Hex. Either that, or we just go for other passive things. Shine, I don't think the Shine is going to be a big deal for us, because again, kind of deliberately avoiding the charge moves, which is unfortunate. I know it works with the Shine, so our aspect technically does naturally cater to that, but okay, I think we definitely want to go here. And this delayed upgrade, what is this one? Oh, it's healing. Oh, that could come in clutch. So what do we have here? You still block that. That's very unfortunate. Never gonna be the last enemies on that wave, right? I want the cast back. I really want the cast back. Excuse me. This might not even be the last wave here. It definitely isn't. Unfortunately, things only just got more complicated. Oh, there are no enemies. I was gonna say, yeah, I can dodge the eagle, but I do need to wait for the enemies to show up. My dash button is completely locked in place. I cannot undash. Okay, there we go. Tula, if you want to help, that'd be lovely. There we go. Very nice.
Lord Hermes.
Okay, the fig leaf has ranked up. It's already had its effect for this night, but we get our healing, and we get you. And we have not had this before. Launch and fly 80% faster. That's actually pretty useful for this one. I mean, it could be useful just because, you know, this is a run that, as I was kind of saying, we're more or less treating as a throwaway at this point, and any little bonuses we can get, regardless of whether they're helpful for the run itself, are, you know, it's a good opportunity to take things just for the sake of prophecy completion. That was not the last one we needed, but I have to imagine we're getting close. Okay, so that's a mini-boss, and it's getting onionified. So, gonna have to say no to that. Now, we have, on a previous run where we took the onionification fear factor, we did find ourselves skipping rooms because they were the first one that were gonna give us a boon, and they were a mini-boss. And then that happened again, and then again. So we just basically never got any boons at all on that floor, or maybe we got one at the very end. So, obviously, at some points, we're gonna have to pay the onion price, but I just don't think that's the time to do it. And I think in general, we want to avoid any and every mini-boss that we can, given how we are not strong. Hello. Oh, that still got me even as I was in the process of dashing. That feels a little cheap. What was I supposed to do if not be in the process of dashing away from that guy? I ask you. Especially in a room such as this, where we do have these conveniently placed walls that seemingly, more or less, can protect against your projectiles. Hey, Tula. Want to do your thing? Okay. Not as bad as it could have been. And then I think it definitely... Ooh, that's 0.3 seconds. It's hard to get excited about just such a small incremental upgrade. I think we're still going for... It could be either of these, to be honest with you. The cast, as I said, some of the damage has been coming from the upfront 200, but then if they are getting hit by all 3 of the slams, then that is more than the initial hit. Takes a little bit of time in that case as well, but the specials were also... I mean, it's a combination of those two things, so... I think this might actually be more. And then you... We do actually have a fair bit of gold to work with here. So we could get both of these things. Now this is actually coming at a discount. 5 encounters. That makes me a little concerned that that is not going to be delivered in time for that to be meaningful. Whereas this one, 3 encounters that might be just after the boss fight, which if we do make it through, is still kind of good timing. So I think we do that and we don't expedite. The question is, if we do this, do we expedite it? How much is this to expedite? Then it starts getting quite expensive. But I think we kind of need to. I think we kind of need to.
It is I.
And that doesn't get onionified.
Your poor father. You must have
We
been
might have seen that
as
happen
good
once
as I,
before.
only to have been ripped away. He would have been so very proud. Well, perhaps not proud as such. He was never big on taking pride in anything, now that I think on it. I'm proud of you, at least.
Oh, why thank you, Hera. Okay. Whoa! A very rare opportunity to get a high rarity boon. For our cast to deal damage to enemies. Ooh, with a good cast, that is tempting. But this may look like it's common rarity, but it gives one of our boons heroic rarity +1 level. So if it lands on either of those, that could be incredible. Now if it lands on, I don't know, you, that'd be kinda unfortunate, but I think we are still going for either one of these could be great. Also, this one is getting, you see, even after we swapped off of the Jeweled Palm, we're still getting +2 levels on boons that can be leveled up. So this one can be, this one can be, this one cannot. This would give us Magic Restoration, which is also nothing to snuff at, to be honest with you. But our cast is good enough to suggest this could be very useful. And that's a lot of upfront damage. Combine that with Medea. Oh, hold on a second. Combine it with the Medea boon, wherever that is. It deals 1 to 999 damage at the very beginning of the encounter. That tempts me quite a bit. Now that we have Hera precedent, I think there's a decent chance we could find Bridal Glow later on. I mean, obviously, we technically still haven't gotten our Onion boon yet on this floor, so that's always going to be a bit of a pain in our side, making it harder to get that. But given how this is an upfront epic rarity boon that is still useful, that's harder to get, so I think we take that. Get a little more gold there, and we could get more, or we go Palm. We already do have some of our biggest boons upgraded level-wise. There are some diminishing returns at play there, and if you want to go from a monetary value standpoint, 100 gold, 130 gold, because we get the bonus gold. So maybe it is this. Also, what is that statue? In the top, or not even the top, just the left side of the screen. Never really noticed those before, to be honest with you. Okay, I think we do still go here. Gold there. Whoa! Did not see you. I'm pretty sure it hit us. Pretty sure it hit us, and also I did not see that you had also despawned. I think the dragon took you out at the very beginning. You also hit me immediately, despite theoretically being stunnable. Not really sure why that happened, to be honest with you. Okay, there aren't really any good places to hide on this room, which is unfortunate, because that was kind of a big factor in the previous room when we were surrounded by these types of guys. You see that. There's more of them! Athena? Would you care to make an appearance? Perhaps? Thank you, Tula. Athena? I see there's some green things over there. Somehow I didn't take damage in that exchange. I really don't know how. Yeah, I saw those. Thank you. You took your sweet time. Wish you had, you know, done that before I ran in to click on some of the, or step on some of the green stuff to prevent those enemies from respawning. The ceiling is coming in 2 encounters. Can't come soon enough at this point. But you could have some really good things for us.
It almost looks as though you're having to contend with the invaders on your own, Lady Athena. There's a lot of mountain to cover, with too few allies.
Well, we have you, cousin. As for our other allies, we as a family are loath to beg assistance or for anything. To all our followers and compatriots, our message has been clear. We have this matter well under control.
Is that the message we've been getting, though? I'm not sure that it is.
Is that the truth of it, or merely posturing, if you'll pardon my bluntness? You are clearly being overrun.
Ouch! Also, there definitely have been people asking us to help out over here on the, on Olympus.
On the contrary, our automatons have quite effectively held many of our enemies at bay, and you and I can make a significant difference as well if we don't dally.
Yeah, the automatons, although initially it was like, hey, why are the automatons fighting us? That seems pretty weird. They're supposed to be Olympus's defense system. Technically, they do also fight the monster enemies, and that is why the dragon was attacking at the very beginning of this encounter, because it was fighting against some automatons. But, yeah, they don't discriminate. They just attack everything. Okay, so let's see. Dash, deflect. That could be huge. After we take damage, we become impervious for 2 seconds. Recharges after 9 seconds. Gain a Death Defiance that replenishes in each location, but we prime basically all of our magic. Honestly, that could be pretty huge, because we have more or less committed to not using any magic at this point, or at least we've accepted that fact. It gives us... it means at most 1 Death Defiance per room. And then the Tula, which is a one-time use thing. But this is repeatable, so suddenly we do have much more margin for error against the likes of Prometheus, or mini-bosses on the final floor. So I think that could be the best option for us here. Yes, this is potentially incredible, but it's, I think, a little bit better when you already have good stuff to begin with. And maybe, to a certain extent, same case here, but when we just have so little going on the Death Defiance front, I think that's very hard to say no to. So, okay, suddenly that does change things a bit. And this is not the penultimate room here, because that's a mini-boss. So this would get ununified. If we buy stuff here, that means we would likely have a subsequent shop, and it would be a little bit tough to have enough money for that, although we have enough here. Over 350 that maybe we can still get by. Avoid the mini-boss, because again, I think generally speaking, we just want to avoid any and all mini-bosses, because, well, it's a little, we have more margin for error now, courtesy of that Athena boon that we just picked up, but it's avoidable risk in that case, and we could always just say no to anything here and just treat it as an empty room with no enemies in it, which there's some value to that as well. Okay, if there was healing, I would be a little bit tempted to take that. But I think we're going to go get the mystery boon. It's coming at a discount. We got those golden urns, so we should still be able to afford things at the next full-blown shop. If we see a mini shop as well, then it starts to become tricky. But to Festus, it's a Charon card as well. Let's see, we have magic restoration. That's not meaningful anymore. Attack and special does more damage to armor. Our dash gets a big burst of damage with a long cooldown. I think we probably do take that. I think so. The one that gives us armor for each encounter at the beginning, that would have been a little bit tempting, just to, again, give us a little more of consistent defenses that last from over the course of multiple rooms. Let's do this. We'll go with the offensive route. I think we're going to pass on both of these, because again, we do need to be a little bit mindful of money. We do have the potential to earn more there. We can also get more life there. this is healing. And we do get more healing based on how much life we have, so I actually think we might still go for this.
Shamblers.
It's a lot of projectiles that I did not see headed our way at the beginning there, and this is the problem with when those guys are fighting each other at the beginning of the encounter. If they do kill each other, it's nice on one hand. On the other hand, it can be a little hard to chase down the green stuff. I don't think this is going to be the last wave, because, yeah, those are all the enemies that spawned in at the beginning. Oh, I hate this. I hate this with a burning passion. I can't do anything there, of course. How do I avoid them? Tula, save us! Save us, Tula! Uh-oh, I see that one. Yup. Just trying to get rid of the ones that are on low health. Make this a little less hectic. Nope, bad. Stop doing that. Huzzah. Okay, I'm amazed that we did not take any damage there. So then... Okay, there's no way we are doing that. I think we're still going... Definitely... I mean, we basically have now 100% committed to no magic for the rest of the run. So, it's definitely going to be more max life. Well, that's a nasty place to spawn into the room. I really would love to pick that up, but it is very dangerous to do so. I'm amazed that I didn't get damaged in the process. We also have that shrine that I will use now. It does mean we're going to get a lot of those showing up as well. Please don't hit me with your projectiles. Thank you. Oh. Uh-oh. Somebody thought that this was going to be the last wave and might have saved that shrine had they realized that it very much was not going to be the case. I'm telling you, man, the hitboxes on that specific attack. It happened to us earlier, happened to us there again. On those and these guys. Not cool. Also would like to get this, but, you know, that's a little tricky given the circumstances. Is he frozen? I believe he is frozen right now, which means, you know, just probably don't do that. And also, please don't come back. Also, please don't block everything. Okay. Definitely took some damage that I'm not thrilled about having taken, but we get more life. And now this is worth 94 healing, which means we are almost at the maximum, which is very useful. Now, here, this would be the penultimate room, which means if we go here, it's a free onion. So it gives us 1 healing, which is, I guess, a tiny bit of value. If we go here, though, it seems like buying boons from shops never turns into an onion. So we could just avoid the onion altogether on this floor, which is pretty tempting. And we have enough money that we can probably afford to do that. Again, it becomes a little tricky if we think we can make it past Prometheus and then get to the mini shop after Prometheus. Suddenly, we'll be tight on cash, but that is... We'll cross that bridge once we come to it.
Something for you.
Adamant.
Resources. Haven't had as much luck on the later floors with that stuff. Okay, so yes, there is something to be said for getting healing here. It gives us a little bit of value. It's a serious overheal, so I'm not sure we can really justify it. We definitely want this, but maybe we take you first so we try to upgrade. I think it's probably still these guys, even if we do have big diminishing returns, and then we'd like to see the attack from Hephaestus.
I have the gold.
So, yeah. That improves the cooldown. I think it's this. I think it's still this. You. Doesn't turn into an onion. Gain life based on magic. Our magic might all be primed, but that actually is quite useful. Otherwise, we get armor each location, but it primes more magic. I mean, that's the downside is no issue whatsoever. This does not have levels. This does, so that's getting a little more than it would usually give. Then you debuff enemies when we hit them with either the dash or the cast, so we should have good uptime on that. It means that enemies take 23% increased damage from all other sources. I mean, I'm pretty tempted by this, to be honest with you, even if it is the one thing that is not getting leveled up, just because, again, it is most, well, both offensively and defensively, we are not as strong as we would usually be at this point in the run, but feel like this is more of a game changer. It's maybe a strong phrase. It's more likely to be significant than this. This is good, but it also is more significant when you already have a lot of damage. I'm not sure when our damage is already bad that 23% here or there is going to make a huge difference. I think we do this. That gets us... okay. It's not quite as much life as I thought it might have been, in which case, you know, maybe I should have done the math. Maybe that would have become clearer. And what... I guess we have 98 magic and it's all being primed. So otherwise, it's a little hard to tell. Like, if you have a... I guess it would... and it says 0 out of 0 to the left of that. So yeah, one way or another, you can still know exactly how much magic you have, even if most or all of it is being primed. Okay, so... now that's worth a little bit more, but it's still an overheal. Okay, so yeah, in hindsight, probably should have gone for the more offensive one after all, but okay. So, very much did not expect to get here. The fight against Eris went surprisingly smoothly. It is possible to also do that against Prometheus, but it is obviously a challenge, so I'm still not expecting us to get through here, but with the combination of special and cast, and now even dash occasionally, we can do a bit of damage here. You on the cast, and you... well, I mean, this is not really going to affect him, the boss, all that much, but you... or rather, you can. So... well, we mostly just cross our fingers, and if we do happen to get through, awesome. Awesome.
Ah, yes. My master does not realize what will become of him once all is said and done. Do you? How abhorrent to try and steal away one's immortality.
But he deserves it? Did you ever think about that? Also, having another Death Defiance here is very, very useful.
I've truly heard it all. A thief lecturing me about stealing. Cronus took my family and more. He should realize what shall become of him.
Your father's father. You share some of his ancient lineage and his obsession with the inevitable. Come get what you desire then, but one outcome awaits as you continue down this path.
Okay, and remember, the eagle's going to attack us right at the very beginning. But he also is more persistent than I would like him to be. I'd like him to just go away immediately. And honestly, Tula is also a not insignificant factor offensively. But that's a horrible place for that to be. Made it a little bit better. I do like that you keep on doing the circle one rather than the projectile one, because it does make it easier for me to just kind of... well, and then I somehow didn't get hit by the projectile one. I think those are basically just adding up. Because he has taken a surprising amount of damage at this stage, despite us seemingly not having done that much. Okay, that's a horrible place for that. I'll tell you that much. And, oh, okay, we're up to this phase. Middle, bottom, top. Middle, bottom, top. Okay. I'm sure we're gonna be fast enough. Put this in the corner somewhere. Okay, here's the eagle, or more like his friends, showing up, who I don't like, of course. But they do eventually go away. Just on their own. I think the freeze duration is also doing a bit of work here. I'm surprised that is, to be honest with you. Or at least it was very lucky that we happened to dodge it, is maybe a better way to describe it. here. Ooh, what? No projectile from that? Strange. Okay, we're back with this. Bottom. Middle. Middle. Top. Middle. Bottom. Middle. Middle. Top. Middle. Nice. Proactively do this. Hope that works. Ooh, okay. Ooh, that was close. Great place to put that. It's basically a non-factor, but it was tricky to avoid getting hit. And also, he has friends again. Ah, that was bad. Got hit for the first time, though. Okay, his friends are gone now, which is very nice. Okay, don't step into that. Okay, go away, bird. You've had your fun. Your time here is done. Tula, I would love to have gotten the chance to get you to attack him there. Yep. Thank you. Ooh, I thought I was going to avoid that just barely, but not quite. There we go.
The famous wrath of Olympus. It cannot easily be stopped, you see.
Apparently not. Right, honestly, surprisingly smooth.
Enough of his foresight.
Right, no Death Defiances needed. More of this stuff. More of this stuff. Definitely didn't expect to see that, but that's fine. There was a golden urn here at one point. We must have broken it at some point. Should be able to heal off all of the damage that we took, so that's great. And the other thing is that I think the freeze might have been doing a lot of work there, just making it easier to dodge his attacks, because we went a long time without taking any damage, and even the damage that I did take felt quite avoidable, which was surprising. Okay, so now I do think... Oh, hold on. Poke that real quick. I do think if we... I really, really did not think we were getting this far. But if we have any hopes of defeating Typhon here, which I can't believe I'm even saying that, then we would probably like to use one of the more bossing-oriented keepsakes that we tend to take, those being either you or you, and we could go with either one of them at this stage. And I think we have generally said that if you don't have a lot of life, then Luckier Tooth is better, because that means, at least from a defensive standpoint, it's better, because taking 10% less damage from bosses is only worth 101 life if you have around 1,000 life, and we definitely don't have around 1,000 life. I mean, actually, if you factor in the life we would get from the 2 Death Defiances that we do have, I mean, it's still not anywhere near 1,000. It's higher than it might look for that reason, but it's still nowhere near 1,000. So, from a pure defensive standpoint, Luckier Tooth is better. Obviously, there's the whole aspect where Knuckle Bones comes in and does 15% damage at the beginning of the encounter, so it makes the encounter shorter, given how that damage is coming at the beginning of the encounter when Typhon is at his weakest. That's not as important as it would have been if it were the last 15%, obviously. So, you could make a case for either one of them. I just want to see if is there any case you can possibly make for anything else. I think the answer is probably no. Already gotten the Fig Leaf doing its thing. I mean, you otherwise could have made the case for using the Fig Leaf on this floor, because I think there's a legitimate case to be made for trying to make some safe rooms on this final floor. Otherwise, boon-giving gods or goddesses, no. Not really. Not really what we want here. You want more damage. Technically, there is this, which I always forget about, but that actually could be something worth considering. As long as this is Typhon, who is the one who has most recently killed us, which I think has been the case for a while now. But that was potentially going to get reset on this run. It could still get reset before we get to Typhon. Definitely not you. I think it's too late for you. Could potentially even make a case for that, but I think we're overthinking it. It's one of these two, and it's just a matter of which one you want it to be. So, I guess Luckier Tooth. Yeah. Take this. Then we can go here. And remember, we are guaranteed to see this stuff show up before the Typhon fight, if it would otherwise be so long that it wouldn't show up in time for that. So we could go 1 and 2. We wouldn't be able to expedite either of them, but this one does show up soon. That's why it's so expensive. This one would be showing up quite late. We are getting quite far along with our Hex, and we still can't really use it very much. So to be honest with you, I don't think this is worth doing. And if anything, we save that money for potential future mini shops, or if we make it all the way to the super shop at the end, then we at least have some money to work with, potentially. But I think we do want this, because this is obviously a very dangerous floor, and so any extra value, any extra power we can get early on against the mini-bosses, even against the normal encounters, that's significant. Enough so that I would even consider expediting this. You could almost say, okay, by not taking this, you can justify it as, we're saving 60 gold here, so we expedite here. I mean, it's just 2 encounters. Can we get past 2 encounters safely enough? And we don't know that that's a game changer, so yeah, we'll forego expediting it. So yeah, I definitely did not expect to get this far. But there you go, we're getting at least a little bit of resources on this floor too. So that's very nice. Didn't seem like any of those were golden. No. Okay. Here we go.
The fortress of the gods.
Be careful, obviously these guys can do a bunch of damage. I always struggle to avoid projectiles from these guys. We still don't have an attack boon for what's worth. I did get hit by something there.
Stay where you are.
Ooh, that's a lot of projectiles. Yep. Dodge that real quick. Hey, Tula, if you don't mind helping us out a bit here, that would be quite useful. Ooh. One of them's almost, some of them are almost down, but just look at how long this is taking. In part because I'm being very cautious with how I approach this situation, but also in part just because there are a lot of projectiles and we do not have a lot of ways to deal with these enemies safely. I'd love to hit Tula. Ah, that's not what I had in mind. Nope, don't go toward that projectile. And those also heat seek. Maybe not quite to the same extent, but they do heat seek. Come on, Tula. Okay, also they keep on moving right as I'm trying to move in to take them out. Which is really frustrating. Okay, there we go. Alright. One more room and we can get the mystery boon, was it? Yeah. Was one of them healing? If so, we should have bought that just for delayed healing, which would have been really nice. Ooh, I was gonna say, don't mind me as I sneak in to try to get rid of the green there. Thank you, Tula. I don't know if you can even cross this gap. Love if you did, though. There we go. Okay. There is the delayed boon, which should not get ununified. It's Demeter. We'd love an attack. Or a duo. Blast, deal more damage to freeze afflicted foes. Cast does even more damage. Get some healing right now, which is more or less the perfect amount for us, probably. Not that I know what 287 times, 0.13 is. Obviously, this is the rarest. Getting special. I mean, that should be happening pretty often. I think I will still go for it.
Desolation.
Obviously, would like both of those things, ideally, but okay. Now we're going to the first mini boss, and as I was saying before, I think Selene, we are not getting much value from that, so I think we do want to go here. I honestly don't know which of the 2 mini bosses we would prefer in this situation. I mean, yes, the single big dude, you can kind of whittle him down if you're patient. However, we have been burned by the basic normal enemy version of that guy on several occasions already on this run. So I don't know if that was just unfortunate circumstances or if that's an indicator that he's going to be a problem. The other one is more crowded, which, as we saw on the first room in this floor, is tricky. Given how little damage we have, it takes us a long time to even get rid of the little guys. But I don't know. We do have, with the combination of our cast and our special, the potential to damage multiple enemies simultaneously, which could make that better. But we'll see. Which one do we get? It's the bunch of enemies one. What else would be very good to get some help from Tula, as is often the case. Thank you, Tula. Just try to get rid of that one. Oh, did I not click on, or not pass over to the green icon? I don't even know if I had one of those, to be honest with you. Whoop, hello. I've not really been focusing on the big guys. I've been focusing just on the little guys, to be honest. Come on, Tula. Ooh, you, nice. Yep, I see the other guy chasing behind me. I don't really know if you do much when you're just by yourself, to be honest. I do like how these enemies are really hard to hit because they run around so much, but Tula is committed. I do appreciate that. So even if it takes a long time for Tula to get the designated number of hits in, Tula's doing it. At the end of the run, I can't remember if it does this when if we fail the run, but at least on successful runs, it does show you at the end of the run what did the most damage, or just like how, like your top several skills damage-wise. I would be curious to see where Tula ranks on that list, because I think it's pretty high. I think Tula is pretty high on that list. Okay, this is the nice thing, is now that we got rid of all those little guys, we can kind of just play this patiently. And as long as my controller doesn't have mechanical failures on us, which it has already done a little bit earlier on in the run, then we aren't at too much risk taking too much damage. The heat-seeking nature of some of these moves is also helping a lot. Making it easier to just press the button, not have to worry about, okay, am I really aiming this directly at the enemy? Maybe not, but it's going to find a way to hit them. Ooh, get rid of them. Perfect. I wasn't sure, given what I was just saying, that I was not really making a point of focusing on where I was aiming. I did not know if we were splitting our damage a lot between them, or if one had taken a lot more than the other. Well, there we go. Not too bad. I think we got hit once. Not a huge hit.
You with me, Homer?
Oh. Okay, so what do we get here? Special, big cooldown improvement on the dash, big increase on freeze duration. I mean, at this point, I think we have to be thinking primarily about boss fights. Oddly enough, didn't think I would be saying that, but I think that probably means special damage. In that case, the freeze duration, yeah, it is really nice against basic enemies, and it has, as I was saying, certainly against Prometheus, it was very helpful, and probably was helping us out in that encounter as well, but it's just a little hard to say how much extra 0.7 seconds on freeze is going to do for us from here on out. That is, in some ways, almost doubling the damage from this, if you factor that it's almost halving the recharge time, so it does improve a lot, but just, I don't love the dash being what we're optimizing around.
Though time cannot be stopped, neither can she.
Oh, Homer does have something to say after all. Okay, head on up.
Next floor.
Now we get all little versions of these guys who somehow were more of a problem than The full versions of them. The actual mini-boss versions of them.
Come on, cat.
Come on, cat, indeed. She's confused. She's waiting for this enemy to, well, surface. Now you are frozen, and now you are unarmored, which means I believe, even though we don't have a lot of damage, we can still stun lock you. There we go.
Clear.
Okay, so we took some damage there, for sure. Not ideal, but could have still been worse. This is where, again, if we had delayed healing, it would have been really helpful. Ooh, yep, those guys are going full speed ahead. That guy is lightning fast, and this is going to be that. Might mean that's going to show up one more time in this encounter as well. We need to be mindful of that. I mean, if you want to just hang out there and allow us, hold on, to hit you from range, I will take that. Doesn't need to be fancy. If it's crazy and it works, it's not crazy. Just be careful. He probably has enough area effect that he can potentially still hit us if we get too close to the edge. Also, we do need to be within range. There we go. Look at that. Hold on.
Join me.
There's a lot of these. It'll probably be quick. There we go. A little more value from that. And then you. We don't really need these anymore, but we are getting it for free. So, I mean, I won't say no, but I'm not really sure what we do with it. Okay, now this is the unfortunate part. Regardless of what we take, it's getting ununified, and there's no workaround. So, if we could control which of the bosses we were fighting, the mini-bosses, then I would pick based on that, but we cannot control that. So I think we definitely would prefer to see the tail, just because that is far and away the boss that I have the most experience at, or at least confidence with. The other one, it's just, it gets really chaotic really quickly. So many projectiles in so many different places at once. You're gonna take at least a decent chunk of damage. And that is not something that I'm thrilled about. So really would love to avoid the Eye of Typhon, but no way to control that. So, I don't know. Take your pick. Doesn't matter which one of these we choose. It is the Eye. It is the Eye. That really stinks. Yeah, I think most of the damage that we did was coming from just the, green stuff can show up here as well. That's bad. I think most of the damage that we did was just coming from the eye getting released. Yeah, I don't think that we can really focus on the green at all here in this encounter. Do the eggs, these things here that explode, do they respawn? I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really made a point of checking, because on one hand, you could deliberately destroy them, and then that becomes a way for you to make the encounter a little bit safer over time. Ooh, I don't know how I didn't take damage there. Okay, it is also locking onto enemies that I don't really want it to lock on, which is a bit unfortunate. Ah, that was bad. Silly damage. But as I said, that's kind of the name of the game. With this encounter, it's just there's so much stuff. So much stuff happening that you really can't control that. So this is just going to be a war of attrition, and it is not a war that we are going to come out of unscathed. That's some value. Blocking all that when the eye's closed, unfortunately. Quite get to that green spot. Trying to get the eye. As I said, the aiming, I don't actually have pure control over it. That was very fortunate. Okay, let's get another eyeball. It does seem like the eggs do not respawn. For which I am appreciative. Grab the needle. Also creates those projectiles, though. Spam this for a bit. Try to dash through here. Like now, suddenly, the bottom of the screen is usually quite dangerous because of all those. Since it's taken us so long, and so many of those have been destroyed, so many of those eggs, now the bottom part of the screen is, well, it's full of a bunch of projectiles. But outside of that, it isn't so bad. That was so bad. No, that was so bad. That is very avoidable at this stage. The visual clutter, that's the thing that makes this so tough. And there is not nearly as much of it anymore. Come on, Tula. No, not that guy. And this should do the trick. There we go. Okay, so yeah. Definitely could have been a little bit better. Could have been a lot worse, though. So in the grand scheme of things, I think we have to take that. It's the onion. We heal off a tiny bit of the damage that we took. But now we go to the super shop at the end, just making sure. Oh, there is a golden urn there. Sneaky golden urn. We actually have a surprising amount of gold at this point.
Closer to the top.
So we'd love to see healing. Have this while we're at it. And if you had told me that we were going to get to, at least get to, the Typhon fight at the start of this run, or at least after confirming that we were not going to have any Arcana cards at all, no judgment, then I definitely was... I would not have believed you. So the fact that we even got here in the first place is insane. So we gave ourselves a chance, and that is so much more than I could have ever asked for.
You've knocked Typhon around a bit, but he's still plenty mad. Isn't there something you or Heck can do to make him maybe go away for good?
We'd like that.
If by make him go away for good you mean have his whole existence flash before his many eyes before he's finally destroyed, then yes, that's in the works. But it may take some time.
Oh, great. Can't do things quick if they don't take some time. Well then, don't let me keep you from your research. See you later, Em.
Okay.
Take care.
So, let's see. Just check. Any more golden urns? No. So, with a little over 700, that means that's 450. That's... Oh, can we... Wait. 450... 700? No, we can't get all that stuff. That'd be great if we could get all that. We basically have to pass on one of these things. The double palm, honestly, I don't know how useful that's going to be to us. Like, yes, we have some stuff that's already very highly upgraded. So if we were to land on any of these, we'd be getting some pretty serious diminishing returns. So I don't... Yes. Hephaestus in general, I do think... at least for the ones that have cooldowns, is the one that has the least diminishing of diminishing returns. In fact, he actually has ones that get better the more upgrades you get. So the one exception would be the dash. That would benefit a lot. But as I was saying before, I just don't feel great about prioritizing a dash upgrade above all these other things that we could potentially be getting instead. So I think we go max life, or actually, let's do this first.
Hear me, on my authority.
And with it... The magic restoration is not a big deal. The weak against Typhon potentially is. Deal more damage while we have a lot of life. I don't know about that. Okay, well, it's gonna be this. Because all the other options are atrocious. And by atrocious, I mean that they quite likely do absolutely nothing. Well, actually, that... I always forget. You get the 10% damage bonus, regardless. It's 20% if you're at 80% life or higher. But I still think it's probably this. The magic restoration is useless. This is just for the sake of applying weak to Typhon.
There.
And then we get... Oh, no, not that. This. And then that means this is now worth 172 healing, which is enough to get us maxed out. So that's pretty huge. And if we didn't take... I mean, like, obviously we were going to take some damage. But if we somehow didn't take damage, and we didn't need to get this, then we could have also afforded you. But we cannot.
Vitality.
So we definitely take this, and then we might as well take you. Okay. So, we've no attack boon going into the Typhon fight, which is unfortunate, except, well, honestly, the biggest problem, and this could have been addressed a bit by having an attack boon, but just generally speaking, is that we have very, very little damage at this stage, and we can poke a little bit here and there with specials and casts, but that's not doing much. Honestly, I think it's still this that is our main source of damage. So it's gonna have to be a really long fight. And obviously against Typhon in a really long fight, you're gonna take, at times, some really big damage. And if you get shotgunned for multiple hits in a row, that could just immediately deplete an entire life bar. We do have 3 Death Defiances. Now, only one of them is a standard Death Defiance that gives us half of our starting life back, which is valuable when we have this much life at this stage. The one from Tula is only 80 life back, I think, and the one from the Keepsake is 101. So, the value of those Death Defiances does vary. Is that enough overall that with 3 Death Defiances we can still get the job done here against Typhon? I mean, it is possible. If we had a lot of damage, or at least average damage, I would say, you know, we have actually a pretty decent chance. It is that we have such horrible damage that makes me have the most pause. And the Hex, sometimes in those situations, can be a way to bail yourself out, but given how we have almost no way to use the Hex, we're just relying entirely upon the single, wherever it is, the single growth upgrade to give us 1 charge up per second. Well, it takes 90 to use the Hex, and 90 magic used to use the Hex. So that tells you it's a minute and a half in between hexes, and that's not great. That's not great if you want that to be a focal point of the build. So there is no great answer offensively, but we're gonna see if we can still get the job done. So here goes nothing. As I said, obviously, I had no plans of getting this far once I saw that we were not going to have Judgment active for this run. So I think we already, it's already a success in that way. But if we could somehow defeat Typhon, incredible. I do like how we have range. That is useful. We don't have to be right up next to him to be doing big damage. So there are some phases where it's hard to hit him safely, like this one, for example. Okay, that's... I did avoid the tongue, which is usually the big thing that does a bunch of damage there. I, however, did get hit by, like, everything else, so that's not great. This would be hard to do damage in that part as well. Saw that coming. Can these specials and these casts add up enough to actually be significant? That's the key question. And maybe even Tula. Okay, we're a long way away from Zeus showing up, I would think. That's a very bad place to get caught. Ads phase? Already. I am pleasantly surprised. Okay, that's gonna do stuff as well. I was ready for the first one, not for the second one. I don't think we're gonna be able to destroy this in time. Got rid of one of them. That's saying something at least, but these guys are gonna be a pain in the butt. Like, big pain in the butt. Especially because I don't really want to have to focus on them. Pass through the big hit. Ooh, but these guys are adding up. Okay, now we at least got rid of them. That's big. Tula, please help. I'm not sure if those casts are hitting, to be honest with you. Oh, There we go. Okay, Zeus phase, good sign. Don't know how much value we can get out of this. Honestly, the biggest value is that it takes a long time, so it gives us more time to charge up the next hex. Come on. Oh, I was trying to get the cast going, but it was technically already up. That's why it looked like nothing was happening. Because technically, nothing was happening. Okay, so I don't believe he can double tongue attack yet. It's actually only a bit later on in the fight that becomes the case.
Keep pushing.
Tula, please assist. No, Tula. What? That still shotgunned us. No, don't go over there. Okay. Good opportunity for that, if not for you doing that. Ooh. Okay, now I think after this, he can do the double tongue attack. Okay. I think this is also the easiest of the extra environmental factors, if you will, to avoid. These guys, however, as we have learned, are a real pain, and we almost got rid of that one, but we didn't before he hatched, which is a pain. I think we may have taken more damage from Typhon's ads than we have from Typhon himself at this stage. Okay, so this is a problem. This part, but if we stand next to him, then we technically won't get hit by that. I got stunned or something. That was confusing. Okay, this is horrible. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong there. My controller got stuck, as it always gets stuck in this situation. One moment. Okay, it's no longer stuck. Okay, there's a Death Defiance, though. And as I was saying, the Death Defiances, they're not very good. We somehow dodged that. And this is where the ads, they keep on stunning me, is the crazy thing. They keep on stunning me. I didn't even know that they could do that. But it's becoming a very big factor. Oh, I was not even paying attention to that. How did I avoid that? Okay, well, there's another Death Defiance. We have only one left. Only one left. I thought that was Tula. It is Tula. Go away. Oh, no. This is a problem. Big problem. Oh, that was our last Death Defiance. Okay.
He's running out of strength.
But so am I. And that was very poor execution there. No! My controller's stuck again! My controller keeps on getting stuck! I need to be able to dash! Oh no! Ah, so close! I don't know how close exactly he was, of course, with no life bar, but as perhaps we might have guessed, we just needed a little more firepower in that fight, and then we could have had it for what would have been our highest fear run, period. Let alone on the surface, let alone with no Arcana cards at all. So, on one hand, as I was saying from the very beginning, it felt like as soon as we saw that we did not even have Judgment active, that it was gonna be a dead run, no matter what. Then we ended up getting further and further, and it was like, surely at this point, the run has to end, right? And then when we got to Typhon, it was like, well, it was so close, yet so far. It was a little painful because it felt like, hey, maybe we can actually do the crazy impossible task here. I think it actually was possible, just given how close we did come. But unfortunately, it always happens on the Typhon fight, where my controller dash button gets stuck. I think it's because I'm just spending so much time spamming the dash button. And it surprisingly didn't lead to me taking too much more damage than I would have otherwise taken from Typhon directly. The problem was his ads. I got hit probably at least twice from those big, bulky dudes who just chase you around and use charge attacks, and just avoiding 2 more hits from them. I don't know, that might have been the difference. But obviously, whenever it's that close, there are any of a number of things you could point to and say, oh, if only we had just one more thing go our way. Maybe that was all we needed. So, grand scheme of things, still far and away exceeded my expectations. It's just whenever you get that close, but not quite close enough to finish the job, it always can leave a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But honestly, even in this case, I don't even think that's true.
What do you suppose I could have done differently last night,
Maybe had Arcana cards. That probably would have helped. Okay, nothing new from you. And so, no progress on... Oh, hold on. We did learn about this. Hold on. What is the deal here? Bitter Tears. So even though the run ended early, and only slightly early at that, we still managed to get a fair bit of crafting resources, a new prophecy / incantation, potentially. Daughter of the God of the Dead shall some evening assist the Witch of the Shadows, Medea, in her latest pharmaceutical development. Okay, that's maybe the most generous way we could have possibly described Medea's endeavors. Gather, tears with intent. Okay, does that mean that we can't just draw upon our pre-existing stockpile of tears then? Tears only count once we already knew of this prophecy. Boil them, give them to Medea. Completing the prophecy gives us one of those shadow things that we have only on very rare occasions needed for some upgrades, but I'm kind of hoping there's more to it beyond just that, because the reward itself is not that great. The fact that it took us so long to learn of this automatically sort of made me think, okay, surely this is something big, important, or it's going to give us some significant reward, or progress some conversation, some subplot line that we did not previously know about, but I don't know. We'll have to see. So we learned of that. We did, I think, check off something from the, was it the hammer upgrades on the Black Coat? Okay, we do still need several more of those, though. Okay, so Artemis is obviously here.
On a bit of a break, sister. Join me for a verse or two?
We have done this many times before, so I'm gonna, I think, abandon her. I'm sorry. This, we have seen these two talking together at least once before, so there's a chance we've already heard this conversation.
Come to your senses, Eris. You're not doing yourself any favors by impeding the will of the fates. Have you heard of even a single incident where that turned out for the best?
No, but there's a first time for everything, and I'm not interested in hearing veiled threats from them through you. If they care so much about what I'm up to, why don't they contact me themselves?
You know that isn't how it works. Have you truly made up your mind to side against, well, everyone? Even I'm not supposed to be speaking to you.
I do what I want, Moros.
Yeah, I believe that. Alright. Let's see. I don't know if there's going to be anything else here.
Salutations.
I don't miss the surface. All my friends are here. Cause of death, Cyclops. Oh. Polyphemus, question mark? Okay, now we also did get some... Oh.
I exist. Could be worse, right?
We did get some extra gemstones, which we can sell for... Oh, I guess we actually don't sell those here. We sell those at the Wretched Broker. So not that that's a huge factor, but we also made more progress. Here's all the little things that were kind of helpful. Oh, that was not the bonus bones weapon? No, it was the bonus bones weapon. Surprised that number is that low then. Hold on. We sell you two. We technically had the familiar who gives us the higher chance of getting fish to show up. So I'm surprised it didn't turn out to be more than that. Oh, I think we potentially wanted twin lures so we could fish with Hecate. So I might want to save some cash for that. We did do the big Arcana card that we've been saving up to upgrade. It was Judgment, which we did in part in preparation for this run, only for it to not activate. I mean, for all I know, there actually is some way to actually get Judgment active even when all of your Arcana, all of your Grasp, I should say, is deactivated. Because it really seemed like that should have been the case. Just think about how much easier that run would have been if we actually had gotten Judgment. Would have made a world of a difference. I mean, we honestly may have had some of the best execution we've ever had against Eris and Prometheus. Maybe in part it was that sort of pressure, that extra element of knowing, okay, we don't have a lot working for us here, so the execution more or less needs to be perfect or near perfect. But, I mean, either way, it did ultimately end up working out there. Obviously, we don't have enough for either of these big things, but there are still some Arcana cards we've yet to upgrade to the max, so there's something to be said for picking up a little more moon dust, but I think we'll still wait, because I want to see
Prepared for more.
if we do have reason to, yeah, go to the fishing pier with Hecate. I think we will do that. Let's just talk to her first, though.
Hermes indicated you were instrumental in releasing Typhon's grip on Mount Olympus recently. I trust that your embattled relatives contributed their share to that result?
Indeed. We did not succeed this time around. We came ever so close, but previous times, yes.
I may be just a frontline diversion in stopping the monster's attacks, but it worked. Lord Zeus at least was able to remind Typhon about the power of his lightning bolt. The others had their hands full someplace else.
The gods must be grateful for such an effective frontline diversion. And Kronos must be grateful for the brief reprieve as well. But carry on as you see fit. This was all part of the Titan's plan, and shall likewise factor into ours.
I don't know if we've heard that before, but what with us not having finished a run that time, I'm not really sure we would expect to see anything new as of the reworked ending.
My thoughts exactly.
Or with the reworked ending. Okay, then here we're still waiting on those things. Not really sure. We picked up one of these, which was another little bonus, but I'm not really sure we need any of these desperately, other than would be kind of nice to get more here, but we are running a little low on the stardust or shadow dust, whatever it's called. So let's just let's plant stuff before we spend time with Hecate, because then we benefit a little bit more from doing that.
Odysseus, what happened between you and Circe anyhow?
Oh, hold on.
She mentioned you, said nothing in particular, except I sensed some pain. There and here.
This might be the subplot line and the conversation behind that subplot line that we've long been waiting for.
That's not a pain entirely, goddess. When I was whole, returning from a war, I found Circe and her isle, and I lived there for about a year.
I think it was a lot more than a year, wasn't it?
Man, and we grew close. I learned a lot from her, and then we left.
I thought it was like 7 years. I thought Odysseus, like, spent almost as much time with Circe as he did actually venturing back from the war. Because he kind of got distracted when he was hanging out with Circe. I mean, a year is still a long time to more or less be completely ignoring your primary goal, which is to, you know, get back to your loving wife after the war. Your loving wife who is very concerned that you may very well be dead, or that even if, I can't remember if she'd heard word that Odysseus was alive, but his return journey was taking so long that it very much started to raise a lot of questions as to whether he was alive. So he, you know, probably should have put a little bit more of a priority on getting back as quickly as possible.
Your voyage home. You stopped for an entire year, then voyaged on and never saw her again.
Well, until I saw her again here. It's in the past. And for the both of us, I think. Not every such relationship need last eternally.
Okay, so it said the thing that was preventing us from spending additional time with Odysseus has long said something like he needs to reacquaint with or reminisce with old acquaintances, something like that. So it would seem like Circe might be the most applicable person in that case.
I understand, I think.
Usually I think we get a big animation that has a lock unlocking. So yeah, I don't think we had it there, but it might mean that we are getting close. Settles up with a few old acquaintances. So I don't know, does that mean Circe actually needs to come here to the crossroads, or somehow Odysseus needs to make it over to the Rift of Thessaly? That I'm not sure of, but I'm hoping that that means we are almost there. So we've been waiting a long time for that. That's a lot of stuff we just picked up. And got some more plankton from that run. That's decent.
Take all the time you need.
Our garden flourishes.
Okay. All that stuff. No exclamation point next to you, Hypnos. So I think now... Okay, if we want to do one of these, sure, we could do this, and then by the time we spend time with Hecate, we'll be done. However, I mean, the same could be said for just doing it before we actually go on our next full-blown run. I mean, I guess it gives us access to the moon dust if we wanted to upgrade some Arcana cards before our next run. So alright, sure, we'll do one of these.
Become what I seek.
I'm just... Now that we've already experienced it, where we've had an important recipe that we weren't able to do because we didn't have enough of those shadow dusts, I just have that in the back of my mind of, well, we should probably make sure we always have at least a little bit of that. So now we only have one, and is there a chance that those recipes might require two? Who knows? Okay, well, also, now that we have talked to Hecate, she no longer wants to spend time with us.
May moonlight guide us.
Oh, wait, hold on. It's not that. It's that we need to get the right exotic good.
One, please.
I was going to say, sometimes that has happened to us, where after talking to people, for whatever reason, they're no longer interested in spending time, but now we can do this. And let's do it.
The Cocytus teems with life there by the riverbank again, Headmistress. Would you please join me for a look?
I'm pretty sure she turned us down on one prior occasion. Maybe it was when we tried to go to the taverna with her. I don't know if she's going to say yes, to be honest.
Very well, why not? I suppose I could use a little walk, and we could use the fish.
That's true.
'Twas not very long ago that you never would have permitted yourself this type of excursion, nor had the mettle to request that I accompany you.
Headmistress, you're right. I could be hunting for our enemy this very moment, and you've so many responsibilities, yet I'm wasting your time. This was a mistake.
Oops.
Hold, lest you frighten the river denizens. Only then should my time be wasted here, Malinois. You mistook the meaning of my words. Your capacity to still your racing mind is not a detriment. It is a growing strength.
Honestly, that's true. In real life as well, you know? Sure, there are a bunch of things that everyone needs to do, but sometimes you need to just relax and find a way to recover. Mentally, physically, emotionally, all that stuff.
I'm surprised you see it that way. Sometimes I feel I'm losing my focus. Why else would I have brought us here?
Perhaps you reasoned that we each need occupy our minds with other matters for a little while. And we are failing at it by continuing to speak. Let us be still together and direct our focus on the waters there.
All right.
I much prefer to use a spear myself.
Oh, wow.
Be still. Got you.
There we go.
The river always provides, and let no such task ever be beneath us.
All right. Well, there we go. Time passed. Relationship progressed with Hecate. She doesn't want anything else from us tonight, though.
Smells delicious.
Pick up this delivery, so now we do have a little bit more crafting resources to work with, and sure, I mean, none of those are ready to be picked up immediately, but we made some progress on them. And what about this, though? That is significant. Get some more Nightmare. That's not bad, and we can afford to get more. We're getting close to the point where we no longer need Nightmare, at least for upgrading our weapon aspects. However, we have also recently learned that some of, or in fact, I think every familiar has a final form that you can unlock just for cosmetics, you know, much like we've done with all the familiar forms that we've used already. It seems like it's basically just a flex, but it costs multiple Nightmare for that upgrade for each of the familiars, so it's basically like a statement that you can make as a player of, I'm so far along in the game that I have already used all of these rare and valuable resources to max out my weapons that I can afford to just throw away extra ones for cosmetic reasons that don't affect gameplay at all. And there you go. That does technically mean that there will be more Nightmare purposes even for a while now, but I think there's probably still enough weapon upgrades. We do have 7 of them, but I think one more of these and we should be pretty good on that front, and then maybe from then onwards we're probably going to shift gears over to the moon dust to try to finish off the Arcana card upgrades. So we got the big one, the expensive one at least, but there are still a few more that we just tend not to use that are, I think, hopefully, a fair bit less expensive. Just these 3? I think it is. And of these, the Unseen is good. I do like this. We've only used it in a limited capacity, but especially if you upgrade it, it's kind of similar to the Moon. And this is the one that charges up your Hex automatically. This one charges up your Magic automatically. So if you have this, then you can spend your Magic aggressively, which ultimately leads to using your Hex more frequently. Technically, using this counts as being one of the adjacent cards, so you're always gonna get a double dipping effect with Moon plus Unseen if you do take Unseen. So if we are to start upgrading some of these, this would probably be the one that I'd prioritize, but I think there's also some familiar forms that cost, yeah, some of the dust as well. This is what I was referring to before. 4 Nightmare, and I think all of the familiars have a Nightmarish form that, yeah, costs 4. So that's pretty pricey. Add all that up, and that's almost as much as a weapon aspect. Fully upgraded those from each of those forms. But okay, I think it is time for us to wrap things up here. As I said, wasn't exactly the way that I had planned for that run to go. It ended up being far more difficult than I had expected, at least from an Arcana standpoint. But the fact that we actually made it all the way to the Typhon fight and almost beat Typhon, I mean, again, you can never know exactly how much life Typhon had left, but I think we got to the last phase, and we were in that last phase for a little while, so, I mean, that's saying something. And it does bode well for when we ultimately do make an effort, for, I guess there was, in a way, an effort toward getting the next round of Knights Champion, or getting some of these really high fear Nightmare upgrades, although, as I just said, given those Nightmare shipments from Charon, might not be as necessary to focus on that stuff in the medium to long term, but we're learning about how some of these interactions work with the various fear factors, and turns out 100% of your Arcana gone is no good, or at least you would think it would be no good with no judgment. Maybe if there is a way that you can deactivate all of your grasp and still have judgment apply, and we just for whatever reason didn't have that happen here, let me know. I would like to know if that is something that we can do in the future, in which case, as I said, if we had judgment active on that run, then we probably would have been totally fine. And then it actually would become a potentially viable way to load up on a ton of fear. But just in case you guys are thinking about doing that, at least now you know. Yeah, it seems as though, at least from my experience just then, deactivating all of your grasp, yeah, it's not a very good time. But anyways, we're gonna have to wrap things up here. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this crazy run, and I'll catch you in the next one.